late afternoon of the 19th of August 2009. I remember we were actually not supposed to go out that night, and quite late on, we got assembled into a room. We were at this stage in a Ford up in the mountains. We were working, I was in a role where I was supporting the Special Forces, the SAS guys. So we had a meeting and we were like, right, intel came in of an IED, an improvised explosive device facilitator, the guy that makes these devices. It was the night before the Afghan elections, and they were going to try and disrupt the fair elections, so by planting suicide bombers within the crowds, clacking themselves off, and then obviously, you know, the people won't vote and stuff like that. So we had very good intel of where he was, and that he was within the area, and we thought, yeah, we have to go for it. We were after this guy for quite some time. So we prepared ourselves that night, got into the helicopters, flew in the middle of the night.
And how many would this have been?
How many in what sense?
How many of the guys were going out with you?
So we worked very closely with the Afghanistan Special Forces. So part of our job was to train them as well. So a big part of our role was to actually slowly hand over to these guys over a number of months and years for them to eventually to conduct these operations on their own. So the bigger, the larger force was then, with probably anything between, I think, we were about 12 to 17, what we will call white eyes, guys from the Parachute Regiment and the Special Forces, kind of overseeing, doing the main task, but also overseeing what the Afghan Special Forces guys doing. And a very successful operation. We landed, we hovered right above his compound, abseiled in, caught him, caught the guys that were supposed to be the suicide bombers, and the suicide vest, everything. Extremely successful mission that we conducted. And we then started heading out into the desert to where the helicopters were going to pick us back up. So we select an area quite far from a local town or any built up areas, just to make sure that it's safe so no one tries to shoot the helicopter down. And it was,
so you're not relaxed at this time? It's not a case that you're coming back thinking the job done?
No, not at all. But we have had a proven route, so we knew that the route to the allocated pickup point was a safe route. But you're still on the edge. You still need to be aware all the time. And what another element on top of that, we now have about 12 people extra with us, detainees, that we now have to look after and make sure that these guys are okay as well. Yes, they're handcuffed, and yes, they, we try to keep them together, but we still need to look after these guys. They are now in our care. And it's about halfway into this walk to the helicopter landing site that a call came over the radio, and the pilot wasn't happy with the landing site. For some unknown reason, he decided against the landing site that was selected earlier today. And he's given us coordinates for a new pickup point. So now we had to move off this proven route onto an unknown route. So we all typed it into our GPSs and started following it. And I would say probably another 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes into this walk, we came across a few individuals in the high ground, looked like they were in patrolling formation. We couldn't identify weapons. So we went down firm, all down on one knee. And again, because we work with the Afghan Special Forces, they speak the local language. We sent a small section of them forward to go and tell these guys, we're in the area, we need to conduct some searches, and we'll be on our way. As they approached them, they shouted out a number of verbal commands, and suddenly one of these guys just lifted up an AK-47 and opened up in a general direction. They didn't know exactly where we were. We dropped these guys very quickly, but very soon we started receiving fire from various different fire locations, other spots, other areas. And this firefight started growing, the intensity of it started really growing quite quickly. And I was actually not far from an Afghan soldier, a PKM gunner, so he was a machine gunner. So every time he was firing his weapon, a big flame comes out of the front. And we think what happened was the LPGs was kind of meant for him. They were kind of, oh, there's a flame there, or there's a spark there, aim towards that direction. But at this stage, we're about 40 minutes, which is now into a severe firefight. Nearly overrun. A few times we had to call in air support and just to depress the enemy. And yeah, like I say, it's about my sniper partner. I was attached to a sniper that night. It was my turn, luckily, it was my turn to agree. At that time I hated it. It was my turn to carry a set of ladders. So we have like these telescopic ladders that you can still buy in B&Q, and you kind of just pull them out, you lay them against the wall, you get up on the roof, you pull them up, you pull the trigger, they collapse. We attach a backpack to it, so they flick them on our back and go, and they weigh a ton. But it was my turn to carry it. So now we're in this firefight, and I didn't even have time to take him off. I was just like, I'll just deal with it. And my sniper rifle shouted, magazine! And then he forced his belt buckle. So then what happens, what I need to do then is I need to up my rate of firing to give covering fire for him. And I did so. And at that very moment in time, these RPGs got fired from my left flank. The first came over our heads, exploded in the distance, and the second one was bouncing and ricocheting off the ground. And in the side of my night vision goggle, I can just see this red glow and the sound of this rocket just getting louder and louder. And in a split second's reaction, I knew that, I don't know, I just knew this was going to be close. And I twisted my back to this oncoming rocket. And that very second, it clipped part of the ladder. And then that initiated the warhead. So it exploded, and part of the blast took my arm away, took part of my leg away, and it flew me up in the air about 5 meters. And I landed, a couple of meters away from my original position. And I was still quite dazed and confused at that stage, but all I can remember was I can hear the sound of gunfire. And all that was going through my head was, I need to get back into this firefight. For some reason, I don't know why, I'm not in this firefight. And it's when I was trying to sit back up and hold my rifle in the correct fire position, that my rifle fell to the ground, and I was like, oh, that's not right. And that's when I looked and I saw that my left arm has been severed from my body.